During an era when the gods betrayed the world and allowed the demon lord to bring destruction, the earth trembled as humanity's last hero was born. After the chaos had claimed countless lives, the fire general discovered a starving baby beneath a tree. Believing the child to be a blessing, he took him in as his own and named him Dariel. Meanwhile, the general's biological son, Bash, waited years for his father's return. When Bash saw Dariel by his father's side, he grew resentful, thinking Dariel had stolen his place. Years later, when Bash became one of the 4 demon generals, he exiled Dariel, claiming he was unfit to be a demon since he couldn't use magic. Threatening to kill him if he stayed, Bash forced Dariel to leave. Homeless and abandoned, Dariel wandered the wilderness, starving for weeks. One day, he heard a woman screaming. A massive beast was attacking her, and Dariel stepped in to help. Despite his weakened state, he managed to block the beast's attack, but quickly realized he couldn't win without magic. As his legs gave out from hunger, the beast launched him aside, leaving him with only a dagger. Though he didn't know how to use human weapons, Dariel's innate powers awakened, enabling him to strike the beast's heart and kill it. The woman Marika thanked him for saving her life. Although Dariel knew it was risky to interact with humans, Marika insisted he come to her village to repay him with a meal. Reluctantly, he agreed. Upon arriving at Luck's village, Dariel met Marika's parents. Marika introduced herself and asked why he was in the forest. Dariel explained that his brother had cast him out and that he had been wandering for weeks. Touched by his story, Marika and her mother invited him to stay at their home, hoping he could help protect their village from monsters. The village mayor, Enbil, also welcomed him. Despite his fears of being discovered as a demon, Dariel decided to stay, realizing he could use his powers to protect these kind-hearted people. That night, as Dariel settled into his first ever bed, Marika knocked on his door to express her gratitude, saying it was the first time someone had saved her. Her words brought him a sense of fulfillment. The next morning, Enbil revealed that he was also the village guild master and invited Dariel to become an adventurer. Knowing guilds were for humans, Dariel hesitated. He pretended to have a back injury to avoid discovery, but Marika pricked his finger and pressed his hand onto a guild contract. To everyone's shock, an outburst of mana wrapped around Dariel, marking him with a sigil. This revealed the truth. Dariel wasn't a demon, but a human. During an aura evaluation, Enbil explained there were 4 types of aura used for enhancing weapons: slash, hit, sting, and protect. Testing his abilities, Dariel surprised everyone. With a single slash, he split a log in half. Using hit, he carved a hole into a mountain with a hammer. When testing sting, his arrow destroyed trees in the distance. Finally, with protect, Dariel blocked Enbil's full-strength hammer strike using a shield. Enbil was amazed to discover that Dariel could perfectly wield all 4 auras, something unheard of in their world where most could master only one. Enbil suggested Dariel join the prestigious Central Guild, a dream for many adventurers. However, seeing Marika's tears at the thought of him leaving, Dariel chose to stay. He explained that the village had given him a home when he needed it most and vowed to repay their kindness. Marika ran to him, and in that moment, Dariel realized his second life would truly begin in this village, surrounded by people who cared for him. Enbil assigned Dariel his first quest, gathering herbs. However, he warned Dariel about a giant monkey roaming the forest. When Marika casually mentioned that Dariel had already defeated the beast, Enbil felt both humiliated and worried that he might lose his daughter to this impressive newcomer.
Good job!
Recognizing Dariel's achievement of defeating an S-rank beast, Enbil promoted him to D-rank adventurer. Just then, Marika appeared, cheerfully offering to guide Dariel through the forest to show him where the herbs grew. Dariel couldn't help but notice her mountain peaks, though he tried to focus on the task at hand. As they climbed a cliff together, Marika shared her dream of becoming an adventurer and expressed her gratitude for Dariel saving her life. Once they reached the top, she held out her hand, asking him to take it so they wouldn't get separated. Dariel awkwardly agreed, letting her lead the way to a medicinal park filled with various flowers. Looking at the herbs, Dariel realized Marika had a lot of experience in herb gathering. However, she teased him about picking the wrong plants, joking about how his plant seemed small and soft compared to the sturdy ones she showed him. To demonstrate further, she effortlessly uprooted a tree to reveal the correct herbs. Suddenly, she noticed bear tracks nearby and became cautious, but Dariel couldn't see anything unusual. As they walked on, he wondered if Marika could handle a bear on her own. She admitted she couldn't and called Dariel her savior, asking him to stop addressing her formally as Miss Marika and just use her first name. When he finally said her name, she hugged him so tightly he thought she might break his bones. To distract her, Dariel pointed at a deer, though he didn't think there was one nearby. To his surprise, there actually was a deer, but it radiated a strange demonic aura before darting away. While Dariel found the situation suspicious, Marika simply thought the deer looked delicious and excitedly wanted to hunt it. Dariel realized his challenges in the village weren't going to be limited to monsters. When they returned to the village, Marika proudly told the villagers that Dariel had captured the deer, and they praised him as a remarkable adventurer. However, Gashida, another adventurer, grew angry and jealous because Dariel kept outshining him. Gashida stormed off, and Dariel later learned from Enbel that Gashida had chosen a dangerous quest to hunt an S-rank serpent, a task far beyond his capabilities. One day, while visiting the guild, Dariel overheard that Gashida had gone after the serpent. Enbel revealed how reckless this was and showed Dariel the quest details. Realizing the danger, Dariel decided to rescue him. Before leaving, Marika handed him medicines she had made from herbs to help him on his journey. As Dariel ventured into the forest, he felt uneasy. Signs of a massive monster's presence were everywhere. Suddenly, Gashida came running towards him, pursued by a gigantic serpent. The serpent lunged at Gashida, but Dariel stepped in, drawing his sword and infusing it with his aura. Gashida tried firing arrows at the beast, but they were easily deflected. Just as the serpent struck, Dariel attacked with his sword, slashing it with a glowing strike. The serpent wasn't finished, however. It swung its tail at Dariel, who managed to block the attack using an invisible shield. Unfortunately, his sword shattered in the process. Thinking quickly, Dariel remembered the techniques for combining aura types. Using a fragment of his broken sword, he infused it with both hit and sting techniques, throwing it like an arrow straight into the serpent's belly. The fragment expanded inside the serpent, creating a blinding explosion that killed the beast instantly. After the battle, Dariel treated Gashida's injuries with the enivina Marika had prepared. Gashida, overcome with guilt and gratitude, broke down in tears, realizing that the person he had envied and mistreated was now saving his life. The next morning, while Dariel and Marika were having breakfast, Gashida entered the room and, to everyone's surprise, called Dariel his big bro. While Dariel wished Gashida would tone down the enthusiasm, Gashida declared that he wanted to train under him from now on. The mention of training made Dariel think of his past with the Demon Empire. He wondered if the 4 demon generals were still at war with the hero. Meanwhile, back in the Demon Empire, Bash had returned from a humiliating loss against the hero. In a fit of rage, he blamed their assistant for failing to scout the hero's camp and promptly fired them, the 5th assistant to be dismissed. Doro, one of the generals, suggested they consider bringing Dariel back. She praised Dariel's skills in war tactics and his ability to handle situations others couldn't. Her suggestion caused Bash's anger to explode. Flames erupted from his body as he screamed that Dariel's name was forbidden and that they would never bring him back. As the cool autumn breeze swept through the village, Gashida continued tailing Dariel, calling him his big bro. Dariel, however, was less than thrilled, wishing this persistent side character had been written out by now. But his real challenge came each evening when Marika would greet him at sunset by flying into his arms. Though her exuberance warmed his heart, it also left his body aching, as her enthusiasm felt like it could crush his bones. Amidst all this, Dariel began to sense something unusual about the village. There was a lingering mystery he couldn't ignore. That night, after recovering from Marika's latest overzealous embrace, he noticed her sulking. She apologized for nearly injuring him again, but he could see her excitement was genuine and quickly forgave her. Later, Dariel approached Enbel to ask why the village seems so desolate, with many houses abandoned. With a somber expression, Enbel decided to reveal the truth. He pulled out a regional map and pointed to a location: the Mithril Mines. These mines were once a source of wealth for the village, but after demons seized control of the area, the villagers began fleeing, leaving only a few behind. Enbel feared that if things didn't change, their village would eventually die out. That night in his room, Dariel decided he couldn't let the village fall into ruin. Resolving to act, he planned to visit the Mithril Mines himself. At dawn, he slid down the cliffs and arrived at the mines. As he approached, he considered the possibility of stealthily taking some mithril to help the village. Spotting a wooden crate, he decided to sneak inside and use it as cover. To his surprise, the area appeared deserted. Dariel wondered if the guards had abandoned their posts, but as he ventured deeper into the caves, he heard the sound of shovels. To his shock, the knockers, small demi-human workers, were still toiling away. They erupted in joy upon seeing him, forming a line to receive head pats from their long-lost master. They explained their plight. They were being forced to deliver quadruple their usual mithril supply without breaks, and the Demon King had withdrawn all soldiers from the area due to financial struggles. The knockers were starving and exhausted, but the demons showed no mercy. As Dariel pondered how to help, the sound of approaching soldiers interrupted his thoughts. A man, clearly in charge, barked orders as magical energy lit up the lamps. He inspected a crate of mithril and, deeming it insufficient, scream at the knockers to increase production threefold. The knockers, desperate and weary, pleaded for more time. In response, the man struck the ground with fury, declaring that demi-humans were worthless slaves who deserved no mercy. Just as he turned to leave, one of the knockers mustered the courage to hurl a shovel at his head, shouting that they were done working for the Demon King. Enraged, the commander ordered his soldiers to kill the rebellious knockers. As the soldiers advanced, one began casting a spell, but Dariel intervened, deflecting the magical energy with a shovel. Amid the chaos, Dariel pulled the knockers aside and confronted the soldiers. Drawing his sword, he warned them to withdraw, invoking the demon code that prohibited harming innocent civilians. The commander, Lemon, demanded to know who Dariel was. Dariel simply stated that he was a human adventurer, ready to fight to protect the knockers. Lemon dismissed his words, accusing the knockers of plotting rebellion and urging his soldiers to attack. Dariel resolved to stop them without taking lives. As the soldiers chanted spells, Dariel disrupted their focus, breaking each chant before it could unleash a spell. When one soldier switched to enhancement magic, summoning a massive rock hand, Dariel leaped forward and shattered it with his sword. Lemon retaliated with a powerful magical blast, but Dariel deflected it and charged at him, nearly slicing his head off. With his life flashing before his eyes, Lemon dropped his weapon and begged for mercy. He revealed that he had been appointed to this position after entertaining Bash at a royal party, leaving Dariel baffled at how someone so incompetent had been chosen. Calling Lemon a disgrace, Dariel raised his sword, but chose only to shave off the man's hair, commanding him to resign upon returning to the Demon Empire. Grateful to have been spared, Lemon fled with his remaining soldiers. The knockers, now free from their oppressors, declared Dariel their new master and promised to deliver all the mithril to him. Upon returning to the village, Dariel informed Enbil that the mithril mines had been recovered and asked him to protect the knockers from future demon threats. Enbil agreed and promised to report the news to the Central Guild. As days passed, the village began to thrive again, with people returning and mithril production resuming under humane conditions. Meanwhile, in the Demon Empire, Xeviantes visited Bash in his private quarters, where she noticed a massive mithril sphere. Curious, she asked what it was, and Bash explained that he was creating a compressed magic weapon capable of storing immense magical energy. To demonstrate, he activated a magical circle and unleashed a massive inferno, calling it the Giga Flare. Convinced that this power would make him the greatest of the four generals and possibly the next Demon King, Bash admitted he needed a large supply of mithril to continue his experiments. Xeviantes, however, informed him that the mithril mine had been reclaimed by humans. Additionally, her massive cannons revealed that the Demon King had summoned him. In the throne room, the Demon King, appearing as a little girl, demanded to know why their mithril supply had vanished. She unleashed a fiery aura, nearly shaking the room, and berated Bash until he apologized. After his apology, the Demon King suggested that Bash should seek Dariel's assistance, acknowledging his intelligence, kindness, and capability. This infuriated Bash, who stormed out of the room and destroyed part of the castle in a fit of rage. Back in the village, Marika happily observed the revitalized community and hinted at wanting children with Dariel. Shocked, Dariel decided to ignore her comment and left to intervene in an argument between Gashida and a group of adventurers led by a man named Phibitin. Phibitin, a B-rank adventurer, insulted the villagers and belittled Dariel's D-rank status. However, Gashida revealed that Dariel was the one who defeated the giant serpent, shocking the adventurers. As the villagers celebrated Dariel, they tossed him into the air and declared he deserved to be an A-rank adventurer. Later, during dinner, Gashida relayed the events to Marika, who, outraged, unsheathed her blade to avenge her man. Dariel quickly restrained her, fearing she might go on a rampage. The next day, a man named Besford arrived from the Central Guild, requesting Dariel's help mediating with the Knockers, who refused to speak to anyone but him. Dariel agreed and convinced the Knockers to strike a deal with Besford. Shocked by the Knockers' swift agreement, Besford left the cave, only for Dariel to encounter Phibitin and his group outside. At the same time, a magical crest appeared in the forest and Dariel heard a familiar voice. Using his enhanced speed, he found Lizet, a demon soldier who hugged him tightly, relieved to see him. Lizet explained that the Demon Empire had fallen into chaos since Dariel's banishment. Bash's incompetence and anger had caused them to lose the Mithril Mine, and he fired over 100 assistants. Lizet pleaded with Dariel to return, but Dariel declined, explaining he had people he cared about in the village. Lizet attempted to trap Dariel in a water prison, but Dariel destroyed it with his sword and proposed a compromise, selling Mithril to the Demon Empire. That evening, Dariel explained his plan to Besford, emphasizing that selling Mithril at 4 times the usual price would ensure peace while benefiting both sides. While Lizet reluctantly agreed, Phibitin accused Dariel of betraying humanity and attacked him. Dariel blocked the attack and convinced Phipoten that this was the best solution to avoid war. Finally, Besford silenced Phipoten and formally accepted the agreement. A few days later, while Dariel was looking for a blacksmith to process the mithril, he spotted Phipoten at the village's old workshop. The ugly loser told him that his squad had already taken over the place. He told Dariel to head back home, saying that a D rank shouldn't be interfering with a B rank. After Dariel returned, Amble revealed that Phipoten had been fired from being a bodyguard, and because they lost the mithril mine, he thought their frustration was the reason he stole a forge. As Dariel began thinking he was responsible for it, Marika jumped into his arms at that moment, telling him that an old man had touched her massive milkers. He wished for the man to die, but when he saw that he was already dead, he realized that it was just tomatoes splattered on the floor. The man woke up and told her that her chest was saggier than his 70-year-old wife's and wondered who the pathetic loser with the small sword was. But as Marika tried to end his life, Dariel managed to restrain her. She told him that Dariel was the strongest adventurer she'd ever met, and that he even took down in Southeast Frank's serpent alone. However, the smith wondered how he did it with his dull sword. He asked Dariel to hold out his hand, and when he grabbed it, a powerful sphere of light radiated from his body. The man realized that Dariel possessed the maximum level in all 4 auras. He wondered how a person like him ever existed and told him to behold, saying that he was the greatest mithril blacksmith alive and that his name was Smith Black. At their home, Marika thought that the bald-headed man's name was fake, but Smith showed them his birth certificate, saying that he earned the last name Black because of his massive hammer. As he began wondering where the forge was, Dariel told him that the village's only workshop had been taken over by another group of adventurers. However, Smith knew that they could take it back with his incredible negotiating skills. Inside the workshop, the adventurers realized they couldn't make any weapons as their melted mithril was turning to ash. However, Smith decided to process his own mithril. He burned it in the fire until it turned dark, and as he smashed it with his hammer, it turned to liquid with a shiny light bursting out of it. When he was done, he made a new blade for Dariel, telling him to infuse his aura through it. As Dariel did, he realized that the weapon was enhanced and easily sliced the tree before him. But at that moment, Phipoten arrived and begged the smith to teach his men how to be better blacksmiths. However, Smith told him to kiss his ass. But as he began to believe, Phipoten grew angry and threatened to eliminate Dariel. That evening in the village, Dariel began wondering how he could make a workshop for Smith, realizing that Phipoten would never allow him back. But Smith revealed that he had already created his own forge. Inside, Smith told him that his apprentice had carted it from the city, but Dariel wondered how he would light his ethanol furnace, seeing as it could only be lit up by magic. However, the worthless geezer began crying as he realized he got scammed out of all his money. The following day, Dariel decided to ask for Lizard's help. But when Gashida saw him holding another man's hand, he began thinking that Dariel wanted to replace him. He thought he was useless, but Marika told him to jump off a cliff already, as Lizard told him that he couldn't support their desire to create weapons. Smith began saying that he only intended to make a single weapon for Dariel. After all, he thought it was the only way to thank him for taking back the mithril mine and giving back his hobby of pounding mithril with his hammer until the liquid exploded. So he vowed to create the greatest weapon for Dariel with his special aura because that was his dream. Later that day, as Phipoten appeared before Dariel, he asked to speak with him in the forest. But after arriving, he told him that they were being tricked by the Centered Guild and that their profits from the mine were being extorted. For this reason, he suggested they join forces to defend the village and said they could share all the profits between themselves. However, even if he was telling the truth, Dariel rejected working with him, since he had heard the people he loved looking to punish him for turning down his offer. Phipoten threw his glove at Dariel, commanding him to pick it up. As he picked it up, Phipoten told him that he would be waiting at dawn. But as he began to leave, Dariel realized he just accepted a duel. When he returned home that day, Envil began saying that he couldn't possibly defeat a B-rank adventurer, but said that Phipoten would be in control of the mine if Dariel decided to forfeit the duel. So to protect him, he offered to cancel the duel, but Dariel knew that Phipoten would just keep coming back otherwise. Smith offered to teach him how to use a mithril weapon. That night, while Dariel was throwing knives at a tree, Marika appeared before him, asking him to drink some of her warm, creamy milk. As Dariel began to swallow all of Marika's creamy white milk, she wondered if he really wanted to still fight tomorrow. Dariel told her that he would because he had people who were worried about him that he needed to defend. Hearing those words, she began saying he would win and that she would make his favorite stew for tomorrow, so he needed to stay safe until then. But he realized that she was worried about him the most. The following day, as Dariel and Phipoten faced off, Phipoten was glad to see that Dariel hadn't run away and revealed his mithril weapons. However, Dariel decided to unleash his dagger. Fippen began laughing at how sad and small his weapon was. As the match was about to begin, Dariel realized that the knockers would be screwed if he lost, so he readied his knife for the fight. But thinking it would be too easy, Fippen suggested he get a bigger weapon. Dariel destroyed his brace in an instant. As Dariel tried telling him to surrender, saying he would crush his face next time, Fippen grew angry and rushed at Dariel. But as he managed to back away, he stabbed the ground before him and nearly pierced him with his extending blade. Fippen eventually closed the distance, nearly slicing his face. He realized that Dariel's blade was actually solid. As Dariel repelled him, he sliced his shield in half, and everyone realized that his weapon was stronger. On top of that, the shape could easily be changed by infusing aura through it. With Dariel already possessing immense aura, his skill with the blade was limitless. In an instant, he slashed Fippen's knife to pieces. But when Embil tried saying he must surrender if he had no weapon, Dariel caught a longsword from his men and threatened to send Fippen to Anikai as he called him a thief. He vowed to kill him for making his life useless. But as Dariel extended his blade into a whip, he told Fippen that he was going to punish him for hurting his friends. With the whip throwing Fippen onto a roof, the villagers began to celebrate Dariel's win. As he nearly passed out from exhaustion, Marika supported him just in time, and he thought her touch was softer than a pillow. That evening, Best Fred began to beg for forgiveness, but promised to report Fippen and his squad to the town's guild. However, as Dariel began thinking the situation would only grow worse, he suggested they repair the roof he damaged. Realizing Dariel was very kind, Best Fred invited him to join the Center Guild. But Marika grew sad hearing those words. That night, while in the sauna, Dariel remembered Best Fred inviting him to join the Center Guild, making him wonder if he could find his parents there. But while his eyes were closed, Marika entered the sauna and sat down right next to him. As he realized he would need to use the classic shampoo excuse soon, he thought his life was over. But his hand wouldn't even move. As Marika said Dariel's name, he experienced a surge of emotions. She confessed that she wanted to spend the rest of her life by his side because she thought he was the greatest person she had ever met. It was thanks to Dariel that the village was saved from collapse, and even her father began smiling again for the first time in years. Over time, her feelings for Dariel had grown deeper, and she promised to support him wherever he went forever. At that moment, Dariel realized that Marika had been hiding her true feelings behind her smile. He assured her that he wasn't going anywhere and decided to decline the offer to leave the village in the morning. When Marika asked why he made this decision, he explained that she had given him a home when he had nowhere to go and that Lux Village had embraced him as one of their own. He couldn't abandon them. Hearing his words, Marika started crying but admitted she was relieved and happy that he wouldn't be leaving. Meanwhile, in the Demon Empire, Bash visited his father, Granbaza. Seeing the massive fireball his father was wielding, Bash learned that Granbaza was recovering from his injuries sustained during the war. Granbaza invited Bash for dinner and inquired about the state of the Demon King's army. He asked if Bash had been following Dariel's advice, reminding him that Dariel's guidance was the reason Bash had been able to succeed him as a general. Without Dariel, the Elites would never have accepted Granbaza's retirement. Granbaza emphasized that Dariel was the greatest asset Bash had ever had and urged him to bring Dariel back immediately. However, Bash, unwilling to do so, grew furious. Flames began emanating from his body as he stormed out, declaring he would rather quit his position than bring Dariel back. The next morning, Erica noticed Marika's absence and realized she had finally made her move. As Marika and Dariel descended the stairs together, Dariel stumbled from exhaustion, his energy drained after the previous night's events. During breakfast, Embil found Dariel's fatigue suspicious, but Erica congratulated her daughter, expressing her happiness for her. Later, Dariel worried about how he would face Marika's father. When Embil called him over, Dariel feared a confrontation, but was relieved when Embil only asked about his recent quests. As they walked together, Erica whispered that she hoped Dariel would continue getting along with Marika. Although Dariel felt uncertain about what to say, he realized he needed to propose to Marika before Embil found out the truth from someone else. Inside his office, Embil revealed that he and Erica were getting older and Dariel knew it was time to confess. Despite doubting he deserved to be mayor, Embil reminded Dariel of all he had accomplished, restoring the village, reopening the Mithril mine, and bringing recognition to Lux Village. Embil declared that the village was Dariel's home now. Moved by these words, Dariel approached Marika and made his decision. Bowing before Embil, he asked for permission to marry Marika, promising to dedicate his life to her happiness. Embil accepted, and Marika was overjoyed. By the following year, Lux Village continued to thrive, and Dariel thanked the Master Smith for teaching him how to connect with others. He was not only a leader to the village, but also a father to his newborn son, Gran, who he had named after the man he admired as a father figure. One day, Gashida burst into Dariel's home with urgent news. the hero was coming to the village. Dariel recalled seeing the hero during his time serving the 4 generals. He remembered the hero as an older man who slew demons with cold precision. However, when the hero's party arrived, Dariel was shocked to see that the new hero was a young woman named Lady. She was accompanied by her backup, Sasha and Satomi. Introducing himself as the mayor, Dariel greeted Lady, who seemed surprised that someone like him could hold such a position. She mentioned that the former hero had retired after being injured by demons. Relieved that he wouldn't be recognized, Dariel lowered his scarf, but Lady immediately told him to put it back, calling his face unpleasant to look at. As the group toured the village, Lady praised its warmth and kindness, but Dariel noticed she struggled to read her lines, almost like someone fumbling with a teleprompter. At home, Marika welcomed the party, and Lady noticed Dariel's son, Gran. She found him adorable and offered to carry him, much to Dariel's amusement. As Lady held Gran, the baby began to fuss for milk. Watching his son playfully demand pilot, Dariel couldn't help but think how much Gran was like him. The next morning, Dariel went to check on Lady, but she was still unconscious. When they reminded her that she was the hero, she quickly got up, went to her room, and changed into her gear. As they ate breakfast together, Lady shared one of her goals. She wanted to acquire mithril weapons from this village. Enbul was excited, realizing it would be the first time a hero used mithril weapons, and hoped Dariel would take care of this task. At the forge, Dariel explained how mithril weapons were made, demonstrating how mithril turned into a liquid when hammered. He explained that this process gave mithril the ability to absorb aura. Satomi tried infusing her aura into the weapon, feeling a warm energy flow through her body. Lady was impressed and requested her own weapon. Dariel called for Sakai, the master smith, to craft a weapon for her. However, Sakai, used to traditional heroes being men, forgot that modern heroes could be women. After studying her hands to determine her fighting style, he correctly identified her as a slasher, which surprised her. Lady then revealed a second reason for visiting the village. She wanted to recruit a 4th member for her party. Overhearing this, Kagashida thought it was the perfect chance to hold a tournament. Lady found the idea amusing, wondering why this small, seemingly chaotic village was full of such peculiar people. As the tournament began, 26 contestants faced off against the hero's party, who were armed only with wooden sticks and a pot lid. Confident in their numbers, the contestants attacked all at once, but when the dust cleared, they were all knocked to the ground, and Sasha called them pathetic. This had been the result in every other village they visited, and Lady lamented the lack of worthy opponents in the human realm. Suddenly, a mithril arrow flew from the trees toward Lady, narrowly missing her. She spotted Gashida, the archer, hiding in the trees. As she dodged his arrows and rushed toward him, she noted his impressive power level. Gashida, determined to land a hit, summoned his arrows back toward her, but she destroyed them with her wooden sword. Even so, he prepared another attack, but Lady blinded him with a flash of light and prepared her strongest technique, Skyrend, to finish him off. Just as she was about to strike, an apple flew through the air, disrupting her spell. It was Dariel who had thrown it. Lady landed, realizing Dariel had an aura stronger than anyone else present. Meanwhile, Yashia was in tears, feeling like a failure. Dariel comforted him, calling him the village's strongest adventurer. At that moment, Lady challenged Dariel to a one-on-one duel, determined to test his abilities. Dariel tried to refuse, explaining that he was retired, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. She activated her aura and charged at him. Dariel blocked her attack with ease, stepping on her weapon to stop her advance. As he leaped away, he used his whip to catch her ankle, pulling her to the ground. Undeterred, she got up and attacked again, but Dariel blocked her once more and retreated toward a nearby mountain. Desperate to defeat him, Lady used all her power, slashing the top of the mountain. Sasha realized she was using her innate abilities. However, when the smoke cleared, Dariel was completely unharmed. A tear fell from Lady's eye as she realized he was the person she had been searching for. Determined to prove herself, she prepared another Skyrend. Recognizing the technique from the previous hero, Dariel neutralized it with a Skyrend of his own. The clash caused the mountain to erupt in smoke. This confirmed Lady's suspicions. After the battle, her party asked Dariel to join them as their final member. That night, while Dariel was feeding his son, Lady approached him and asked why he wouldn't join her party. Dariel explained that he wanted to stay in the village to watch his son grow up. He showed her a portrait Gashida had drawn of his family, and explained that he planned to get a new one every year as his son grew older. Lady, unconvinced, vowed not to give up until she persuaded him. Dariel then recalled a conversation with a demon named Doro from years ago. She had wanted to protect the children of the demon continent, and her words inspired him to strive for peace. The next day, as Dariel went about his duties in the village, Lady and Satomi secretly followed him, hiding under wooden boxes. They observed him working tirelessly, helping villagers, playing counselor, and even cleaning up after the previous mayor. By sunset, they saw him feeding stray animals before heading home with Marika. Satomi admired how Dariel's work made him just as important as a hero, but Lady was still determined to confront him. That night, Lady summoned Dariel to the mountains. She accused him of having the same power as the previous hero and demanded to know how he acquired it. Dariel explained that he had learned by observing the hero's battles. His humble answer only angered Lady further, and she threatened to cut him down. Dariel dodged her attacks, insisting that those with great aura didn't have to fight. He explained that the Demon King's army was only trying to keep the hero away from their leader, and he believed the war could end if humans stopped their aggression. Dariel revealed that he had loved ones on both sides of the conflict and wanted to protect them all. Hearing this, Lady realized Dariel had a kind heart. She told him she admired his resolve and decided to appoint him as her teacher. Acknowledging that he was the second strongest human after the previous hero, she asked him to train her. Dariel agreed, realizing he could help maintain peace by keeping Lady close and guiding her path, as he stared directly at the most important part of this war that he needed to protect. A few days later, when Liza was playing with Gran, he thought he really looked like Dariel since he was just as ugly as his useless father. But when he wondered where the hero was, Dariel told him that the entire party had left to shop for pajamas at a neighboring town. However, as he let out those words, Zivi's massive milkers appeared at that moment, wondering why Liza's disgusting face was here. Dariel realized that his secret was about to be blown as Zivi used Liza's worthless body as a stool. She told him that this was his punishment for keeping Dariel's whereabouts a secret. At that moment, Marika arrived, and as she spotted Zivi, she thought she was there to see her old friend and said she would return with some grape juice. However, when Zivi began saying she was glad to see Dariel again and wondered if his sword was still small, Marika grew angry and merely blasted her face with the lid. But as it hit the wall, Zivi's life had already flashed before her eyes. When Dariel decided to ask why she came, Zivi revealed that she was searching for Mithril and had decided to trail Lezit to the village, having already discovered that he delivers Mithril to the Demon Empire. However, when she commanded Dariel to hand over all the Mithril in the village, he refused, so she threatened to teach him a lesson. As Dariel grew afraid for her, he suggested they leave the village. However, just as they arrived outside, Zivi blasted a tree and threatened to do the same to Dariel if he wouldn't accept the deal. As she ascended towards the sky, Dariel decided to reveal his weapon, but warned Lezit to stay away from the battle. So as Zivi summoned a wind sphere, Dariel launched himself toward her, but as she changed spells, he switched techniques, nearly ending her life in an instant. However, Zivi thought his attack was too fast, so she said that it didn't count and wanted to go again. For the next few hours, he kept destroying her back plot, but even so, Zivi wouldn't quit and prepared to blow away the entire village this time. As she decided to summon a geostorm, Dariel blasted it with Sky Ren, consuming the storm in that instant. As it caused Zivi to lose her magic, she began falling toward the trees, but as Dariel tried to save her, he only managed to catch a piece of her clothing. The weight of her body pulled them both down, so Lezit unleashed his water to ease their landing. At that moment, Zivi spotted Dariel holding her underwear, causing her to cry as she swore that she would tell the monster girl about it. With Dariel desperate to make up for his blunder, he vowed to sell her all the mithril she desired, but she asked for a replica of his sword. A few minutes later, they arrived at the workshop, and after Dariel told the loser in charge to make a sword similar to his own, Lizette told him that it was starting to get late. When Dariel wondered what he meant by that, he realized that the hero would be returning soon. To avoid a confrontation with Zivi, he begged Saki to take as long as possible in making her weapon before hurrying out of the workshop. Before long, he came across the hero's party, but as he asked Lady if she found the right pajamas, she began wondering if he wished to see her without any. But while she was still speechless, he commanded her to practice her sword swing 100,000 times before returning to the workshop. As he realized that Seki was keeping Zivi busy, he decided to allow Lady to enter the village. Later that night, he realized that Saki was hiding inside a bin, so he revealed that he was unable to hold out long enough. At that moment, the door opened on Zivi's massive milkers. But when Lady sat next to her, Zivi's towel fell off her head. God damn it, you can't make this up. Thinking he was a disgusting perv, they slapped him at the same time. That night, while having dinner, Marika told him they would be having a long conversation soon, and Lady threatened to cut off Dariel's hand next time. But Zivi wondered who this disgusting flatboard was. However, when Lady wondered why he was being friendly with the demon general, Dariel decided to reveal that he was a human raised in the Demon Empire. Just then, Marika said that he confessed the same way after he proposed to her, but she told him that regardless of his past as a demon or human, it would never affect the love she had for him. Even so, the lady thought Zivi still didn't belong in her village and told her to return to the demon territory. Having had enough already, Marika banged her large pot on the table. saying that the only way they would understand each other was by fighting all out. So as both of them agreed, Zevi decided to sleep right away, but Lady called her a worthless amateur and began sprinting toward the sauna. However, Zevi sprinted after her to relax her body before the fight. Once they both got there, Dariel wondered why all the women he attracted were psychotic chicks. The following day, as Dariel and the others arrived, they discovered that Saki had been forced to make their weapons without sleeping, and the loser was exhausted from hammering them all night. But although they felt bad for him, the girls were ready for the fight, and Zevi unleashed her light wings. As she released a blast, Lady unleashed her own, but as they managed to dodge each other, Zevi withdrew instantly and used her wings as a shield from Lady's attack. At the same time, Marika arrived with Gran, the ladies continued matching each other's agility until Zevi blasted her away. Even so, Lady returned, knocking her to the ground and kicking her sword a few inches away from her body. However, as Zevi decided to summon a light tornado, she began to cast a spell, releasing a psionic laser toward her. But Lady unleashed Skyen, and as the collision nearly destroyed the ground, Satome cast a barrier to shield them from the heat of the attack. But as Dariel cast a barrier of his own, she began wondering how he managed to do so. He told her that he was only copying her spell. At the same time, Gran noticed the greatest source of milk in this world, and as he realized that he needed some right now, he leaped toward them. But at that moment, the mountain began to crumble, so Dariel saved his son. Lady tried shielding him, but Zevi unleashed her storm barrier to destroy the cliff. When Gran came out and started laughing, both of them were relieved, and Dariel realized that his son wanted to play with them. So they stared at each other before laughing, realizing they were enemies after all. Seeing the way they became friends, Marika knew that this was the scene he'd always longed to see. He realized that he was finally able to believe in the world of his dreams where demons and humans all smiled together. A few days later, Sesha arrived at Dariel's home with surprising news. Aransel, the previous hero, had come to the village. Sesha introduced him, and Dariel greeted Aransel with cautious respect. Just as this meeting was unfolding, Zevi appeared, pestering Dariel to eat the snack she had prepared. However, the moment Zevi spotted Aransel, her face went pale. Dariel quickly realized the danger she was in. Knowing that Aransel might discover Zevi's identity as a demon, Dariel panicked and whispered for her to run. He warned her that Aransel was the fearsome hero who had once escaped the dreaded Grand Baz's flaming jail of endless searing screams. Before Zevi could act, a group of village children approached. Dariel, concerned Aransel might harm them by mistake, watched as the hero began playing with the children instead. Much to Dariel's relief, Aransel seemed to enjoy himself, quickly becoming the center of attention. Soon, every child in the village wanted to spend time with him, and a long queue formed at Dariel's door. The villagers, hearing of the hero's arrival, came to greet him warmly. It wasn't long before Aransel had become a beloved figure in the village. Later that afternoon, Aransel asked to shake Zevi's hand. She hesitated, but he seemed like a kind old man, so she complied. However, Dariel quietly warned her to avoid using any magic, as Aransel would annihilate her if he discovered her true nature. When Dariel finally found a moment to speak privately with Aransel, he asked why the former hero had come to the village. Aransel explained that he was there to summon Iris-Philia back to the city. He revealed that he had learned she was slacking off and believed it was his fault for appointing her as the new hero. Now that his injuries were fully healed, Aransel intended to train Iris-Philia himself and help her grow stronger. Realizing this might distract Aransel and give Zevi a chance to escape, Dariel offered to show Aransel the village's training facilities. However, Aransel suddenly stopped and said he felt a suspicious presence nearby. He pointed to Gashida, who was peering through the window with a goofy grin. Aransel dismissed the interruption and continued with his mission. When the training began, Iris-Philia charged at Aransel with all her might. The seasoned hero effortlessly dodged her strikes, even as he signed autographs for the onlooking villagers. At one point, he caught her wooden sword between his fingers and flipped her onto the ground, leaving her breathless. Despite her exhaustion, Aransel acknowledged her progress and asked how she had improved so much. Proudly, Iris-Philia revealed that Dariel had been giving her deep lessons with his sword. When Aransel asked what she meant, she explained that Dariel was the second strongest adventurer she had ever known. Impressed, Aransel decided to challenge Dariel to a sparring match. Dariel, knowing Aransel's overwhelming power, tried to decline, but Gashida egged him on. Gashida loudly proclaimed that Dariel was stronger than anyone, even though most villagers thought Gashida himself was weak. Wanting to support Gashida's claim, Dariel reluctantly accepted the challenge. However, upon noticing Aransel's fiery red aura, Dariel realized this might not end well. Thinking quickly, he suggested they eat lunch first to regain their energy. Aransel agreed, and during the meal, he praised Dariel's delicious rice balls. Meanwhile, Zevi, who had been spying on them, still believed Aransel was a harmless old man. But when a gust of wind threatened to blow away her scarf, she instinctively used elevation magic to retrieve it. Arancel immediately sensed the change in the wind and reacted. With incredible precision, he launched his nunchaku into the sky, striking Zevi and pinning her to a wall. In an instant, he appeared before her, declaring that he had discovered her demon identity. Just as Arancel was about to strike her down, Dariel intervened, blocking his attack and insisting they resolve the matter another time. Arancel, unwavering, warned Dariel to step aside. However, Dariel refused, explaining that he couldn't allow the girl to be killed. He admitted he had always known Arancel was a terrifying figure and recalled how Grandbaz had protected him in the past. Unsure if he could stop Arancel alone, Dariel tried to reason with him, but Arancel pressed forward. When Arancel attacked again, Dariel deflected his strike with his whip, creating a momentary opening. As Arancel unleashed a blast of energy, Dariel used his whip to pull Zevi to safety, shielding her just in time. Caught in the heat of battle, Arancel began speaking. He noted that Dariel was the second adventurer he had encountered with mastery over all 4 types of aura. Arancel lamented not meeting Dariel earlier when he was still the active hero. He even suggested that Dariel take up the mantle of hero now, claiming they could conquer the demon empire together. Dariel, however, rejected the offer. Disappointed, Arancel drew his weapon and declared he would eliminate both Dariel and the demon. He summoned his fiery red dragon, and in response, Dariel unleashed his Skyrend. The 2 attacks collided, causing a massive explosion. When the dust settled, Arancel realized Dariel had no intention of continuing the fight. Iris-Philia, witnessing the chaos, tried to intervene but froze under the intensity of Arancel's glowing eyes. Demanding answers, Arancel questioned why Dariel was protecting Zevi. Dariel explained that he didn't want anyone to die. Arancel, unconvinced, accused him of being naive, stating that peace couldn't be achieved with such ideals. Dariel, however, insisted he wanted to prevent the loss of his loved ones. He revealed he had learned about Arancel's tragic past and apologized for the loss of his family, explaining that his desire for peace stemmed from wanting to protect both humans and demons. When Arancel asked why Dariel cared so deeply for a demon, Dariel realized he couldn't keep the truth hidden any longer. He confessed that he had been raised by demons. Meanwhile, in the Demon Empire, Grandbaz visited the Demon King's throne room. Grandbaz questioned the king about his dragon form, to which the Demon King explained that it was merely a reflection of Grandbaz's immense power and personality. The king reminded Grandbaz of his responsibility to Dariel, revealing that Dariel had awakened all 4 types of aura and was living in a human village. Grandbaz, determined to bring Dariel back, left the throne room with a heavy heart. Back in the village, Dariel recounted his past to Arancel. He explained how the General of Water had entrusted him to Grandbaz, who raised him as his own son. Shocked, Arancel realized he had unknowingly killed the General of Water, the one responsible for Dariel's upbringing. Arancel also remembered that his own son's body had never been found after his family's death. When he asked Dariel how old he was, Dariel replied that he was 33. Overwhelmed, Arancel embraced Dariel, revealing that he was in fact his long-lost son. Dariel was stunned by this revelation. Arancel explained how his wife had been killed during the war, and though he had believed his son was dead as well, he never found the body. The fact that both he and Dariel shared maxed-out aura attributes left no doubt in his mind. Just as they began processing this truth, Arancel sensed another presence. He launched a blast toward the trees, only for Gashida to intercept it with a blazing heat barrier, causing an explosion. As the smoke cleared, Grandbaza appeared, ready to defend Dariel. However, Arancel readied his long staff, demanding to know why Grandbaza had come. But Dariel decided to stand between both of them and revealed that Grandbaza has been his father all this time. As Arancel decided to relent, Grandbaza revealed that he's always known Dariel was a human since he wasn't able to use magic even at the age of 5, but he would never allow him to be taken away. Realizing the secret had weighed down on him all these years, Dariel decided to tell him that he would always be his father and said he made him a better man. However, Grandbaza thought he's a lucky man and said he had inspired him to become the strongest demon in the realm. As he hugged Dariel, he called him the pride of his life, and Dariel hugged him too. But as the sight made Arancel angry, he began saying that Grandbaza had stolen that away from him because instead of getting stronger for his son, it was the hate of killing all the demons that made him grow stronger. His life was useless, having lost all the years they could have spent together forming a special bond. As Grandbaza knew that he deserved his rage, he told him to take his revenge out on him. At that moment, aura began emanating from their bodies, but Dariel wondered how he could stop them. Luckily, Marika flew in between them and doused them with her water, separating the fight before it started. She told them that they were a disgrace for powerful heroes and begged them not to show their hatred in front of their grandson. Shocked by her words, she revealed that both of them were Gran's grandpas, and the men realized they were grandfathers. The two greatest heroes in history were now both just grandpas, but Marika had helped Dariel realize what he needed to do. So as he figured out a plan, he told Gran Baza to stay alive for his son and asked Arancel to train Gran up as his grandson. As Arancel was happy to meet Gran for the first time, Dariel decided to thank Marika for her support and said he was glad he married her. But as his words made her excited, she hugged him tight, nearly crushing his worthless bone. Meanwhile, at the Demon Empire, Bash arrived at a grand reception to celebrate becoming the greatest of the 4 generals, but discovered that the hall was empty. Wondering if everyone had forgotten his special occasion, he decided to ask the manager if they had all been brainwashed. But the man told him that no one was coming to stare at his disgusting face. They had all turned down his invitation and revealed that even his father had asked the Demon King to dismiss him from his position because of his inability to make any money. The Demon King's army was already starving, and the loss of the Mithril mine was their last hope that was extinguished. However, as he thought all of it was irrelevant, Bash began saying that he's perfected a secret strategy for defeating the hero. But the man said that the only strategy he needed was a strategy to fix his disgusting face. What did he say? He told him that he should have never fired Dariel and said his absence has plunged the Empire. As Bash sat down at the table, he decided to order some PG grape juice, but the chef told him that they wouldn't serve him as he had not been paying his invoices. When he wondered how they had managed to keep this place afloat, the chef told him that Dariel was the one always paying their bills, and since he was gone, the entire place had gotten wrecked. At that moment, Bash's anger began to grow as Dariel's name continued echoing in his mind and the house exploded. At that instant, as he stepped outside, he activated his evil eye, saying he would annihilate Dariel. At the village, the scariest heroes in history were playing with Gran, but Gran Baza thought that Gran had such a great name and wondered where it came from. However, poor Gran began crying, so Arancel tried to comfort him, saying that anyone would cry in the hands of an old disgusting man like Gran Baza. But the phone began going off at that moment when Dariel heard Lizard's voice on the phone. Gran wanted to talk to him, begging him for help. Congratful, you played yourself. As the food came out and Marika brought the drinks, Amble wondered how he fit to be Dariel's father among these maniacs. But this was the first time Dariel discovered Enbil was actually his name, as he had always called him father. A few hours later, Gran Baza was reminiscing about his memories raising Dariel, remembering how sad Dariel was when he first discovered he couldn't use magic, but had continued trying anyway. Arancel wished he also had these memories, but said he was glad to see Dariel grow into a powerful mayor and thought Gran Baza must have been a great father to raise him into the man he was today. So he offered him his hand, and as Gran Baza accepted it, Dariel was glad to see both of his fathers become friends. But by the time they were done, Marika noticed Dariel's arm was still in pain, so she spent the night taking care of him, telling him that the kindness of his was the thing she loved the most about him. However, she had to go clean the dishes, but as soon as she left, Zeme snuck into his room, telling him that she was shocked that he was in love with her. After all, he told everyone how they wouldn't be able to live without Zevi, so because he said she was as important as his wife, she promised to think about their romance and flood outside. The following morning, as Lady began asking Arancel to train her, Dariel wondered if she intends to continue fighting the war. As she told him that she would, she said it was the hero's duty to defeat the Demon King. But when he wondered who the Demon King is to them, Arancel began saying that he was the source of every misfortune in the world and thought that ending him would bring peace to the realm. However, that was only the story the past heroes had believed, because at the same time, the Center Guild thought the Demon King possessed all wisdom and mana and were convinced that killing him would allow them to steal all his powers. But in a third story, they thought that slaying the Demon King would allow humanity to evolve into a greater race and would even grant them the ability to use magic. However, when Ansab decided to ask if the Demon King was truly invincible, Gran Baza told them that the Demon King had truly bestowed all the demons with magic powers, revealing that he was the first and only Demon King to have existed. These words left Lady in shock, and Gran Baza revealed that the Demon King has always been the same, and he thought he was immortal. Just then, Fibiton and his useless squad appeared at the door, and he told Dariel that the Mithril mine was under attack from a monster. To reach the mine quicker, Dariel told Zevi to transport them with her wind magic, and within a few minutes they were flying towards the mine. However, as they got closer, the heat from the dragon's fire nearly burned them, forcing them to land. But when the men told Dariel that the knockers were trapped inside, he ran into the mine. Arancel followed Dariel to offer support. Meanwhile, Lade decided to draw her sword, suggesting they take down the dragon. She charged at it with determination, and Zive propelled Sisha forward using her wind magic. However, when Sisha stabbed the dragon, he realized he couldn't even pierce its tough body. Iris unleashed a powerful blast at the dragon, but it retaliated and almost crushed her. Zevia acted quickly, using her magic to teleport Iris to safety. The dragon unleashed a torrent of fire toward them. Shawn shielded the group, but the intense heat melted her armor. Granbaza stepped up and began absorbing the fire inside the mine. Meanwhile, Dariel noticed the knockers buried under the rubble and realized they needed to defeat the dragon before rescuing them. Together, they charged at the beast, combining their powers to unleash a fearsome sky wren. They managed to knock the dragon down temporarily, but it roared and flew away. Letty sensed a deep hatred radiating from the dragon. Granbaza informed them he was returning to the Demon King's castle and commanded Zevia to use her magic to transport him. A few minutes later, after Dariel successfully rescued the knockers, he grew sad, feeling he had failed to protect the mine. Orancel comforted him, saying he couldn't do everything alone and should rely on his friends for help. Just then, a man reported that one of the guild workers was still missing, likely trapped inside the cave. At the Demon King's castle, Granbaza found Bash enjoying coffee. Noticing Bash's evil eye, he suspected Bash had entered the room of secrets. In anger, Granbaza punched the wall. Curious, Zevia asked about the room of secrets, so Bash explained it was a hidden chamber in the Demon King's castle. It stored all the hexes ever developed, magics far more powerful than anything else in the world. Due to the immense danger they posed, the demon ancestors had sealed these hexes away. Among them was the technique Bash had used to control the Salamandra, the great magical beast that attacked the mine. Frustrated with Bash's reckless behavior, Granbaza insulted him, saying he was brainless and wished he were half as capable as Dariel. These words struck a nerve, bringing back painful memories for Bash, who grew furious. His anger caused the Hex of Spirit synchronization magic to awaken. Enraged, Bash summoned the Salamandra, declaring he would destroy Dariel and the entire village. Riding the dragon, he flew away to carry out his plan. Back at the mine, Dariel continued searching for the missing worker when a stone god appeared before him. Thinking it might devour him, Dariel tried to run, but the cave sealed shut. The stone god spoke, explaining that the Salamandra reflected the caster's rage. It warned Dariel that the dragon would devour the world unless stopped. When the stone god asked to see Dariel's mythical weapon, it lifted its restrictions, granting Dariel its powers before retreating into the cave walls. Granbaza contacted Dariel and informed him that Bash was controlling the Salamandra and heading for the village. Dariel quickly returned to warn the villagers and ordered an evacuation. Marika gave him an engagement ring, asking him to always keep it by his side and bring it back safely. When Bash arrived on the Salamandra, Dariel and his allies were ready outside the village. Bash cast a massive fireball to light up the area. Dariel tried to reason with him, but Bash, realizing Dariel now had a family, decided it was the perfect time to destroy everything Dariel cared about. Understanding words wouldn't work, Dariel used his whip to engage the dragon. Zevia supported him by casting wind magic, helping pull the dragon down. Dariel then unleashed Sky Wren, successfully separating Bash from the beast. Dariel tried again to reason with Bash, apologizing for taking over the mithril mine. However, Bash revealed he never even knew about the mine and explained his real reason for attacking. He wanted to lure Dariel out, calling him a traitor and declaring his intent to erase him from existence. Bash revealed his ultimate goal, to annihilate humanity, destroy the world, and become the strongest of the heavenly generals. He dreamed of being known as the General of the Transcendent Tempest. Dariel, determined to protect his family and friends, vowed to stop Bash. As Bash launched fireballs, Dariel deflected them. But Bash's relentless attack sent Dariel crashing through the forest and into a mountain. Despite the overwhelming power, Dariel survived. He acknowledged Bash's incredible strength and admitted he once admired his talent. However, his words meant nothing to Bash, who prepared a massive fireball to finish Dariel off. In that moment, memories of his friends and family gave Dariel the strength to unleash his ultimate Sky Wren, blasting Bash away. At the same time, the others were locked in a fierce battle with the Salamandra. Shawn cast a powerful 5-layered barrier to trap the dragon, but it nearly devoured her face. Gasa quickly intervened, firing a flurry of arrows at the beast and nailing it with a dozen more. The Salamandra retaliated by spewing fire, forcing the group to leap out of its path. Lancel then launched a thunderous attack, blasting the dragon with a thunderbolt. Before it could recover, Granbaza cast his powerful spell, Flaming Jail of endless searing screams, engulfing the Salamandra in flames. Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, Dariel pondered whether Bash's new form was due to the overwhelming power of the Hex. Suddenly, Bash flashed toward him and struck with incredible force, knocking Dariel into the mountainside. Regaining his footing, Dariel took to the sky, but Bash was ready, preparing a massive fireball to finish him off. Dariel countered with a shield, determined to hold his ground. However, Bash swung his tail, smacking Dariel back to the ground. As Dariel landed, Bash accused him of stealing his life, then cast a giant fireball aimed at the sky. Dariel quickly realized the fireball would burn the entire forest and decided to awaken the full power of his mithril knife. At the same time, Granbaza successfully neutralized the salamandra. Sensing a surge of energy rising toward the heavens, Dariel directed it at Bash, causing an explosion that obliterated half the forest. Despite the devastating blast, Bash emerged unscathed, his body now covered entirely in dragon scales. Dariel began to wonder if his attack had sped up Bash's transformation process. The battle intensified as Bash launched another relentless attack, slamming Dariel into the ground and flinging him into a mountain. Dariel countered with his blade, managing to hold Bash back momentarily. Suddenly, Dariel found himself transported into a world of memories, watching a younger Bash and Granbaza in a parade. The Hex's synchronization magic was taking control, allowing Dariel to witness Bash's past. In Bash's memories, a 10-year-old Bash watched as his father arrived home with Dariel. His father told him to rely on Dariel as an older brother, which crushed Bash's spirit. He had waited years for his father's attention, only to see it directed at someone else. When he asked his mother if he could become an adventurer like his father, she told him he needed to become the top student at the Magic Academy first. Determined, Bash spent countless nights studying. However, when he finally achieved his goal, his mother was angry that he was planning to leave, accusing him of abandoning her like his father did. This made Bash realize he could never truly win his parents' love. Eventually, Granbaza assigned Dariel to be his aide as he became a demon general. Bash harbored deep resentment, believing Dariel had stolen the moments that should have been his. He convinced himself that killing Dariel was the only way to prove his worth to his father. As Dariel continued to observe these memories, he realized that Bash had been incredibly lonely. At that moment, Bash leaped away, but Dariel could still hear his thoughts. Rushing toward him, Dariel tried to slash with his sword, but Bash caught it in his hands. Dariel told him that Granbaza had always been worried about him, and that he wanted to be there for Bash as well. Dariel's shield began to glow and transported Bash into his own memories. There, Dariel relived his own struggles. Growing up, Dariel felt like he didn't belong in his family, especially since he couldn't use magic. To hide his sadness, he forced himself to smile and act cheerful. However, after meeting Bash, he finally felt like he had a family and experienced happiness for the first time. Dariel told Bash that his life was special and worth something, and that he wanted to support him. Hearing these words, the dragon scales began to melt off Bash's body. Bash realized he had been wrong to run away from Dariel. When the scales disappeared completely, Dariel extended his hand, saying he wanted to be Bash's older brother again. For a moment, Bash wondered if he should take his brother's hand. Just as he was about to, the Hex began taking control of his mind again. The salamander absorbed all the flames from the fireball, reawakening at that moment. With the Hex already broken, the dragon roared, its fiery heat spreading across the battlefield. Haransel realized the salamander's true power was about to be unleashed. Bash, sensing the dragon's rage, immediately flashed toward it. Landing on the beast, he merged his body with the salamandra and took off into the sky. Granbaza worried Bash's entire body would be consumed by the dragon, but Bash was ready to sacrifice himself. He felt peace, knowing he had made amends with Dariel. At the last moment, Granbaza separated Bash's body from the salamandra. He began casting a spell to transfer the Hex onto himself. However, Dariel intervened, unleashing Skyren and annihilating the dragon in an instant. With the beast gone, Ziva used her wind magic to keep everyone afloat. Granbaza was relieved to have his son back. When they returned to the village, Dariel was overjoyed to see everyone safe. A few days later, Bash visited the Demon King to apologize for the chaos he had caused and offered to accept punishment for his sins. The Demon King showed him the gates of hell, where failed generals had been sealed. He offered Bash a choice, exile or imprisonment. Bash believed he didn't deserve forgiveness and chose the gates of hell. However, the Demon King, moved by Bash's sincerity, decided to spare him and banish him instead. Later, the village held a celebration. Bash attended with Granbaza. Dariel welcomed him warmly and apologized for everything that had happened. Granbaza also apologized on Bash's behalf. During the celebration, Granbaza introduced Bash to Dariel's son, telling him they were all family. Bash finally understood the meaning of family and vowed to atone for his past actions. Gashida welcomed Bash as his second older brother, crying with happiness. As they reminisced, Marika pointed out that this was the first time Granbaza had called someone by name. Bash was touched, realizing he was part of something special. Dariel commissioned a new family portrait to commemorate the moment. As they stood together, Dariel felt truly happy, knowing it was a day to remember forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the recap, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for our next video.